How's it going, everybody? Sessiion here. Welcome to the Dead by Daylight developer update for February of 2023. This is actually great timing, knowing that we do have chapter 27 right around the corner coming out in March, featuring a new killer and a new survivor. So I think that this will give us a lot of really fun things to look forward to, knowing that that chapter is soon to come. With that in mind, of course, they're going to be talking about, some changes that they're implementing for the Red Forest, some stuff for the bots with loadouts and improvements, something to prevent map repeating on a frequent basis for killers and survivors, perk changes, outfit plans, and apparently an update for people who are hacking into the game, which I haven't seen that myself personally, but I mean, I also digress and try to stay humble about it. So starting off with the Red Forest visual update, various levels have received changes to kind of give that aesthetic feeling or change the way that it's like appearing. So you go from like night to daytime or day to nighttime. So I think Red Forest is honestly one of those levels that they haven't really touched. So using this process that they call the Realm Beyond actually is great because it lets them add modern standards to a lot of the visuals that we get with some of the levels. And I think you can see that with some of the screenshots that they have here. Like, I feel like they added a warmer but also creepier atmosphere to it. Also, this doll does not help in the case scenario for that screenshot. I also really like how they made the candles. You can tell that they're putting in a lot of time and effort to like add textures and details to add to the the scariness of how the game could feel when you're on the map as a whole. I actually also think that this wasn't, I think it was more open. Like, I don't think there was like a dungeony kind of look to it. So I actually like that it's like kind of closed, and it kind of adds a little bit more flair to it as well. And of course you got the exit doors, which actually looks pretty sweet, so I like that. So yeah, I think Red Forest, small details, but we'll kind of get a bigger picture of it when of course it comes out, and I think that'll be a good way to go about it. So for map repeat prevention, which is the next topic of the update. Speaking of maps, many of you can probably single out a favorite, a map that you're always excited to see, but with so many maps to choose from, you probably don't want to play the same map several times in a row, even if it happens to be your favorite. So since variety is the spice of life, and variety in DBD is no exception, so no longer will you need to resort to map offerings to plead to the entity to stop sending you to fracture cowshed. So map repeat prevention is here. New feature limits the possibility of playing the same map twice so long as map offerings is not used. The same goes for any other players in your trial. If each person played a different map in their last match, none of those maps were chosen. Furthermore, the chance of these maps to be chosen will also be reduced for the next few matches, and then go back to the usual odds later on. Interesting. So I guess what they're saying is, if you have 4 people that are all solos and they each played like RPD, game, Leary's, and Midwich, then essentially you won't get any of those 4 levels, but you will get a different level that hasn't been played. And I actually like that change quite a bit, because I can't even tell you, like, I think, what was it, last month, I got Leary's 7 games in a row and without any offerings by anybody. So I don't really know what the logic or the rubric was for me to go to Leary's 7 times in a row, but I think that if they are figuring out ways to at least prevent me from doing that, that'd be awesome. Plus, I think it'll bring about a lot of ways to kind of keep adding variety, because I think most days when I play, I feel like I usually get Wreckers and Coldwind, but I get the variations all the time. So it's I honestly can't say that I've ever just been like thrown into RPD without it being redeemed by an offering. Midwich is like is once in a while. Even like Garden of Joy, I never see Garden of Joy, honestly. So hopefully this map prevention repeat process will actually allow us to see and dabble in every single map if we were to play the game for an entire day. So I think that'd be pretty sweet. So I think it's exciting. Now with bot loadouts and improvements, so it's actually funny because we did I recently did a customs viewer stream day, and it was actually a lot of fun. And we also had moments where we wanted to try to test the bots as well to see how they function, and you can easily tell that they don't directly follow in suit with some of the ideas that Survivor players may come up with. For example, I had a resilience build, but my my healing, like the killer didn't have like mangled, so I could have my health be like at 90% to cleanse for like a medkit or something like that. So the healers that exist in the bot mentality of it, right, they want to just heal you and make you have full health. But if you don't let them heal you because you want to use resilience while you're injured, but then you want to quickly tap yourself to heal back up, the bot just kept running away from me into the hallway. If we were playing on Midwich, ran to the hallway, came back, and it was like that for literally like 5 laps back and forth. So I hope that they understand, you know, a little bit more about what's to come in terms of like how to function with the survivor builds that we have in mind. Hopefully the load up system will actually implement that too, to a degree. So we'll see. So we recently introduced survivor bots to custom matches, which is a W, by the way, allowing you and your friends to fill the remaining spots with robot allies, or just practice a new killer against an entire lobby of bots. I actually like that a lot though, because the pressure of playing as killer is like really strong. So to play against bots and kind of get like some practice in is a really nice way to get started. So everyone got a really strong response from it too, which I think is awesome. So they've been working hard to implement 2 survivor bots and their AI as such, and you'll notice a few changes in the next update. First, they added the ability to customize a survivor's bot's loadout. Oh, so you can actually customize it yourself? That's actually super, super cool. Once you've added a bot to the lobby, you can simply click on their name and you'll find a new edit button. There you can customize the bot's perks, item offerings, and even which survivors you'd like them to be. Oh, you know what though? I like that, because you actually didn't get the choice to pick a survivor. Now you can actually pick them. That's really cool. Also taught the bots to use most but not all the perks, so go wild and test out various combinations. Okay, so I feel like bots are going to be able to just kind of wing it with builds, but they're also going to be definitely stuck in some cases. So you're going to find bugs for sure, and moments where the bots can't compute certain loadouts. So I totally get it. Like, I honestly, and not to throw any kind of shade, but I don't expect the survivors to know how to use deliverance deliberately, you know, specifically to need to unhook a person and then, you know, get off the hook. Like, I feel like if a bot had deliverance, they either just won't go for the unhook, or they'll try to unhook without even getting the unhook, you know what I mean? Or they'll unhook themselves when the killer's right in front of them, which will not be, you know, the best way to go about it. But of course, you know, it is all an effort and time that will take some practice and fixing, and so I'm sure that once they've actually make it work, it'll be so cool. Secondly, we made a large number of improvements to Survivor AI. Some of the improvements are smaller than others, but here are just some of the noteworthy tweaks. Improved navigation in some areas, preventing bots from getting stuck in some places or attempting to loop something that they shouldn't. Funny. Bots are now more bold when it comes to unhooking their fellow survivors. See, that's actually one of the really key points that it was. A lot of, like, if I was playing like me and one friend and the other 3 were bots and I was killer, if I hook like the player, the bots, if they hear the terror radius, they immediately crouch and hide, and they don't really try and do anything. So it looks like they only go for unhooks or heals or anything of the nature when they can't hear terror radius, which is interesting because obviously some killers have a larger radius than others. And even playing like Myers with the scratch mirror, where like he has no radius except for, like, you know, when he's in the chase, they get bold against Myers, even though real players are terrified, and vice versa when it comes to like hearing a Deathslinger's, you know, the music, whatever. So it's interesting to see how they kind of added that boldness to having bots unhook survivors. So they go for the, you know, they go for the save when it's safe, which makes sense though, but they will attempt an unsafe rescue as a last resort. So it sounds like to me like if you're on second hook, then they will 100% try to go for you, or if you're about to die as well. So I feel like one great aspect of that is having bots use like resilience. I feel like if they have resilience, they might be willing to play it a lot safer too, which is cool. Bots will not actively attempt to seek out totems and using totem hunting perks such as small game and counter force. That's actually so sick. Okay. Bots will now react to some audio cues such as Wraith Spell. Previously they would only respond to the terror radius. Yeah, see, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So I think like they'll be able to understand a lot of things based off of like just like who the killer is. So it'd be very interesting to see how like that comes into play. Bots have learned to better respond to certain killer powers. They will now crouch near the hag traps and disarm bear traps. That's okay. So, I mean, I haven't played a match where I had either a hag or a trapper, but I think that it's cool that now they understand the logic for that. So that's gonna be fun. Bots will now attempt to break line of sight in a loop while a ranged killer is aiming at them. That's actually so fascinating because I don't think honestly many players even do that themselves. So bots, the fact that they can do that is actually really sick. So bots are by no means replace a real person, but we hope the improvements will make them more realistic. That's actually exactly what they need to do, so that's perfect. So I think this is a really exciting change to look forward to. Bots are really fun to play, and honestly, like if you don't really want to play with like, you know, online players than playing with bots. They're not a replacement like they say, but you can still like dabble with them, and it still adds a lot of fun. And I think it'll also do that too when they add the killer AI and have that kick into full gear as well. Perk changes. Ooh, I already see eruption here. Okay. Although we take a pick and save perk changes for our mid-chapter update, had a little room for this chapter to squeeze in a few perk tweaks. We are in the midst of planning another package of perk changes for the next major update. Okay. Eruption. Eruption has been a hot topic as of late, and for good reason. Perk was updated in our meta shakeup last year and has steadily grown in usage ever since. These days, it has solidified its spot in the new meta. Many of you have raised concerns surrounding the perk disproportionately affects solo players, which is actually fair. Since they can't warn their teammates that they're about to go down, teammates can't stop working on a generator to avoid the incapacitated effect. Made eruption very powerful. Not only does it lose 10%, it also regresses while people are incapacitated and it wears off. Made eruption very clear choice for any loadout, not removing aggression generated, but also for the repair for being done. First, eruption will now cause to lose 10% of its current progress, not total. This means that the effect will be less severe on generators with less progress, but more impactful on generators that are nearly completed. Yeah, that makes sense. Second, it will no longer apply the incapacitated effects to survivors who are repairing the generator when it exploded. Instead, oh, they got rid of the incapacitation effect entirely. So people who are repairing the generator when it exploded, instead, survivors who are actively working on the generator will scream and reveal their location to their aura to the killer for 10 seconds. Not only will it make the perk less frustrating for solo players, but it will also give the killer crucial information on other survivors' whereabouts so that they can attempt to interrupt them. Okay, see, I understand that now, because I definitely can relate as a solo player. When you find out that the killer has eruption, the biggest issue is not just the fact that you can't work on another generator, like you just can't do anything. So I can definitely see where that kicks into full gear with people getting very frustrated. This doesn't though by any means take away how powerful eruption still can be, because you can it turned into like a regression perk that like just stops players in their tracks, versus now it just gives the killer like a lot of information. So at least it but the problem though too, in fairness though, eruption is still very powerful when you can kind of wrap around it with builds. So, you know, you at least have to deal with, you know, Deadman's, for example, as like a combination perk with eruption. So it's still going to be very powerful for the fact that you know, the gen breaks, it gets blocked by some kind of entity thing, and then you have to just do something else, right? But you can't at least do nothing. I think that's honestly something that really does kick into full gear. That's actually going to be better for the case scenario. Because like if you get incapacitated, you can't even heal, you know. So if people are injured, you can't heal. You can't go do another generator. You can't, you know, go find a totem. You can't grab like the glyph. Like you can't do anything for the whole duration, which was really painful for a lot of survivor players. I mean, even if you were playing as a solo, like, you know, of course eruption, any perk in the game works a little bit less effectively when you have a team of people communicating with each other. But when you have no one communicating, you gotta, you know, figure out a way to make it work. But eruption's nerf is, I think it's still going to be very strong. Not even because of the total progression, it's just more so because like you just straight up have to still deal with the regression. Like the regression is still there, it's not as strong, but it's still very much like present. So I think people are going to be very happy with this change. I kind of expect it to be something that's more manageable, especially because of the fact that it's like current progress and it's just a, you know, a reveal. Because now you can like handle reveals. You know, if you bring like distortion or something like that, then you can just easily avoid that process of getting caught by the killer. You know what I mean? But I think that this is a good change. Hopefully people, you know, like it as well, and we can kind of see what else there is in store. Any means necessary. That's a perk that they're changing. Interesting. This perk makes it possible for a survivor to pick up a drop pallet, basically. So when the pallet gets dropped, if it doesn't get broken by the killer, then it will, you know, be possible to bring it back up. But if it breaks and it's gone forever, you know, that's always been like an issue. I think that, I mean, I personally think that there should be a way to bring back pallets, just because like it's hard for the killers to not catch everybody by the time that all the pallets are destroyed. So like, you know, I mean, that's just me like thinking food for thought. Anyways, it makes it possible to pick up a drop pallet, allowing it to be used again later in the match. Back when the perk was launched, many people were worried that it may be too powerful, so it had a fairly long cooldown. Over time, it became clear that the biggest obstacle to using the perk was not in fact the cooldown, but rather finding a pallet that hadn't been destroyed. Exactly. Since the perk requires a fairly lengthy interaction and can be interrupted by the killer, enemies necessarily cannot be used aggressively. To give the perk a slight boost, they removed the cooldown entirely. Survivors running the perk can now reset a dropped yet unbroken pallet whenever they have a chance. Killers want to keep an eye out for pallets and seriously resetting and be extra vigilant when it comes to breaking them. Okay, you know, actually, I understand that, because I actually used to think that enemies necessary was a very good perk, but as soon as the killer gets hit with a pallet or anything of the nature, there's never a reason for them to not break it, since like if it goes away, it just goes away. So I think honestly, if people start running this perk, I think the way that killers will start chasing survivors won't change, but the way that survivors want to be chased by the killer is going to need to change in order for them to use this perk. I think that's really what it boils down to. So I don't really know how they're going to, you know, make that work. I still don't think that the application of the perk is going to be very strong, because you have to take the risk and gamble that the killer isn't going to break the pallet. So it still has like its niche uses, but at least it can be used more frequently, like much more frequently. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not too sure yet what to expect. While chapter releases like this tend not to come with many balance changes, you can expect a larger balance of perk changes in the mid chapter, which is cool. New outfit plans. In the recent weeks, we've noted a passionate conversation amongst the community in regards to who is in the game and who is not getting cosmetics. Oh, interesting. Okay. You know, honestly, quick sidebar. Vittorio already has more outfits than Hattie, and I already was kind of surprised by that. Like, Hattie doesn't have outfits as many as like Vittorio already does, and I think that's actually kind of like, I'm kind of surprised by that. So we'll see. In recent weeks, we've noted over the years, the roster has grown to a astonishing count of 64. True. With such a wide variety, producing new outfits for each of them has become a tall task. Each new cosmetic takes a good amount of time and careful planning to bring to life. There's only so much we can do. In between updates, we have to be very conscious about the offers we release, balancing both character and style variety, but also content, which we know players will love. This can result in some characters receiving a new outfit less frequently that we or you would like. We try our best to include a vast array of survivors and killers so that everyone can find one that resonates with them, and it can be upsetting when it feels like the character was forgotten. Feeling is mutual. We love everyone who's been through the fog, and we want the best for each of them. Well, I think for a great example of this too, though, is like I mean, I want to say for like licensing problems, right? Like Freddy has no outfits, you can't buy anything for Freddy. Demo, same problem, right? When they reconfirmed that Cannibal isn't going away since he's getting his own game, basically, he also hasn't really gotten like a new outfit. Myers, I haven't seen an outfit for Myers since like the day I started playing this game, you know, so I feel like that's actually something that kind of has to come into play too. So we'll see. But there's good news on this front, which I want to share today. We recently expanded our production capacity to increase the number of cosmetics we can produce for each update, and you should start seeing results over the coming months. With this, we have to increase both quantity and variety of outfits with release. We release without sacrificing quality. Here's an example of how we're planning content around one beloved survivor, Hattie Carton. Yeah, so that's actually like a prime example. See, like Hattie literally has no outfits. I think honestly, out of all the survivors that are non-licensed, she's an original survivor, and I think she has the least outfits out of all of the survivors in game, like not counting like licensed, like, because you know, like Lori has only one, Jill has like, you know, like 5 technically, but like it's not the same. Rebecca has 2 sort of, you know, so her being an original and having like very little outfits, I think also though, people have come to that conclusion that Hattie just doesn't get the most play out of all the survivors. Like I think she actually is at the least of them all. So we'll see. While the example above will always be possible across all killers and survivors, its type of release scope would love to see the whole cast, especially new ones during the fog. Yeah, so that makes sense to me actually. They should, I mean, I think theoretically what they should do is try to pick a rotation of like 3 killers and 3 survivors and just give them something that like works. Because I think, or I mean, you know, try to, because I think they came up with like that sports event one, and they gave one for Trapper, Adam, Michaela, and I think it was Trexer or something like that. It was like 2 and 2. If they can make it 3 and 3, that would be like good. And you know, if they're planning on doing it more frequently, also I think we'll actually get to see that with time as well. We have to just wait until we kind of let them just do their thing. And an update on cheating. Okay, wrapping things up, we have a quick update on our ongoing plan to combat cheating. Not only have we continued to detect and patch up various cheats since our last update, but we also expanded our team. They added a new team lead to grow their security team who will coordinate their efforts moving forward. With that, they reached the end of the update. Oh, that's literally it. Okay. So it's, I mean, here's the thing. I feel like people have been heavily talking about like folks who are cheating, and I mean, I get it, but like I also, here's the thing. I personally don't see a reason why you need to cheat in this game. I know that players play this game very competitively and they strive for like the 4K or the full escape and all that fun stuff, but the fact that you're cheating in this game is just mental to me. I don't even see a reason behind it. I mean, like, okay, cheating in games is different than like using cheats for like a solo game that just gives you, like, if you know, like Grand Theft Auto, right? Like there's like the money cheat or like the guns cheat, like that kind of thing, you know. But to cheat in a game that has competition or other players that are involved, that's where it definitely draws the line. Because, you know, old school like PlayStation 2 games had cheats for a lot of things, but they were usually like small changes, right? Or like if you beat the game on the hardest difficulty, then you can like have the cheat for like infinite ammo or something. But to apply it in a game where there is like an objective for both sides is definitely drawing the line, even with the thought of it coming up. So I'm glad that they're increasing their infrastructure for cheaters and also trying to figure out more preventative measures for it too. I think that's like a huge win. So hopefully with time we also start seeing it less and less. I mean, like I said, as somebody myself, I know I've looked at what like some people use for cheats and hacks, but I've never personally seen it myself. And I play this game all the time, so I have no idea what to expect. But I think that, you know, because they're working on it though, I think that's cool. So there you have it. There is the February update from the devs. So I think all in all, Red Forest is pretty cool. I actually like the map quite a bit. The map repeat prevention progress is really cool. Also, I like that they figured out a way to make that seem a little bit more like applied, just because of like how it works. So hopefully we can add that variety to it as well. The bot loadout thing is like definitely the biggest win out of this update, since you can now pick survivors and their loadouts and then have them, you know, play a little smarter and a little bit more riskier, which is really, really cool. I think that the changes for Eruption are, I think it's going to be a bit more balanced, mostly because of the incapacitation process. Like that was the #1 issue I think for that perk versus everything else. So getting rid of it and turning it into an aura perk is going to be pretty decent. It's still going to be very powerful, but the application of that power is going to shift in a different direction. But it's not going to take away at all, you know, how strong it can be, because again, it's an aura perk now versus it being like a regression perk in full. So that's cool. And then any means necessary, I'm very curious to see how many people, now that they know that the perk is getting a change, will actually be able to utilize it more frequently. So we'll see. I'm not too sure. I also do appreciate them being aware that people are not happy with who they pick and choose for outfits. Of course, it's hard to give an outfit to everybody, but you know, people like Meg that have like 100+ outfit cosmetics, and then Hattie who has like 20 something, is like, obviously, like, you know, Meg has been in the game for a lot longer, but Hattie also needs some love too. So hopefully they can kind of create that balance. I think, like, honestly, people are not going to be too opposed to just having everyone reach like a certain median number of cosmetics before they just start letting it kind of roll with the punches. So we'll see. I mean, for killer and for survivor side too, you know what I mean? And for cheating, I think that, you know, they're still working on trying to figure it out. And I think that as somebody myself who hasn't seen it, I think that they're doing a great job at it all. So let me know what you think. I think that this will be a very fun update to kind of get our hands on. And I hope you guys look forward to chapter 27. Alrighty. Take care.